Well, it's time now for Health Reports, and joining us now is Africa 54 Health correspondent Linord Moudou with an in-depth look at gender-based violence. Hello, Linord.
Hello, Vincent. The United Nations defines violence against women as any act of gender-based violence that results in or is likely to result in physical, sexual, or mental harm or suffering to women. According to the World Health Organization, around 35% of women worldwide have experienced GBV or gender-based violence, and as many as 38% of murders of women are committed by an intimate partner. Women and girls victims of gender-based violence suffer consequences on their sexual and reproductive health, among other things, including forced and unwanted pregnancies, unsafe abortions, and higher risks of sexually transmitted infections and HIV. The UN says as a result of gender discrimination and their lower socioeconomic status, women have fewer options and less resources at their disposal to avoid or escape abusive situations and to seek justice. In West Africa, the United Nations Populations Fund is actively working in Mali to raise awareness against gender-based violence and help women and girls victims of violence.
Ako ka be jenfe ngama aka samman kene bi akoko ti be alima tara de wele kana adenga buli ka ba musokoro ade muso mina na kila fe na bra chefe kana ndoko muso fana furu sala be sokoro ko fana wele kana jete ni ndlangolo kundalendo akuma ka fo nyana ni ntije aka rapport ke fe nganju ta ka wuli ka ba ka sokono o ayeneni o yentoro snaka sange tige ka bon kuna ndalendo ki kenka kambugo foka juri jiginyana akera 1h du matin denga kama tono tanti be bo abitami dugo klalendo kwale tado kuna ka bodro denga koko tanti tibo ede bebo no o sera ka labo atara shi salon kono.
With regards to gender-based violence, UNFPA this year has developed a strategy in support of the Ministry of Gender to fight against gender-based violence, to really overcome all of the negative aspects regarding gender-based violence, including what religion and traditional leaders say about that.
And that was an excerpt of a UNFPA documentary produced where one of the victims chose to hide her identity. The UN Sustainable Development Goal 5 calls for gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls with one specific target, quote, eliminate all forms of violence against all women and girls in public and private spheres, including trafficking, sexual and other types of exploitation. And joining us now for more on the subject is VOA contributor Khalil Gueye and VOA Bambara reporter Kadiatou Traore. Thank you both for coming on the program.
Thank you, Linord.
Thank you for having me. So let me start with you, Khalil. The excerpt of the documentary we saw was actually produced by you for UNFPA. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about the type of challenges you came across in terms of having women and men speak about this issue?
Actually, when I was shooting the documentary, women were much more open to face my camera and talk to me. Okay. Some women even came to my hotel and tried to reach me to see me for interviews. But men were reluctant to talking to me. And what I see, based on the actions led by UNFPA and the UN in the country, different bodies of the UN in the country, the revolution, the GBV revolution in Mali will be achieved by women.
And Kadiatou, you are originally from Mali. Now, observers say gender-based violence is an issue in Mali and many other countries. What can you tell us in terms of what is happening and your take on this subject?
What I can say about this is Mali, before you have no Mali, is a society based on traditional and religious belief. And it's a patriarchally society with many stereotypes and prejudice towards women. The image of a real woman in Mali is that submissive, yes. One of the household and devoted to her children. Mm. When you go over this, it cannot work with a society. But to talk about all of this, we have facing some facts and issues, which is about an GBV,
Yes.
which is first statistic of child abuse are unreliable, and reported case of abuse are rare.
So as Kadiatou mentioned, reported cases of abuse are rare. So what did you come across? Did you want to add anything to that?
Actually, gender-based violence is being seen today by Malians, especially by women and girls, as a human rights violation and also as a public health issue. So both aspects of the case make people be more interested in fighting it. But the problem is, in Mali, which, as Hadi said, traditional society, people have a tendency to put together Islam and tradition. You know, I succeeded to corner some ministers and ask them some questions: economy, health, youth. And you know what they told me? Especially the Minister of Gender, she told me, when tradition meets religion, things get crazy.
It's difficult
really.
Because when it comes to FGM, which is one of the gender-based violence that is being really addressed by the UN, people talk about it as if it is a religious practice. But in fact, Khadi, it is not a religious practice.
It is not in religious practice because the traditional was meet religious fact. And some people, you know, religious people, because Mali is a country with something like 95 and
at least
98,
95%
yeah, at least 95%
of women have undergone FGM.
Exactly. And that's coming to the very, very, very problem for the women because I think 10 days ago, when Atete was on power, and he would like to launch his family code.
That's the president of Mali.
Exactly.
Atete,
so it's transformed that to the very, very problem for the religious, because the religious association call population to not follow that law because the law mentions the text, all of the disposition of the law mention the woman and going to be the chief of the family.
Okay, so we're
this
talking
is a
about
misperception.
Yes. All right. And Khalil, you wanted to...
You know, and before the crisis in Mali, there was a certain law, or anyway, a tacit law, that accepted that women could be married only after 18 years. But now, after the crisis, I think that's what she wanted to say. Now it's back, the country went back to 16 years.
So very quickly, because we're running out of time, Madame Yagibu said in her bite, she talked about the importance of involving religious and traditional leaders. Let me have your comment on that very quickly, because we barely have a few seconds. Khalil, how will that make an impact? Very quickly.
No, Khalil, you talk about the Khalil.
Khalil, go ahead.
Right. Okay, the impact is very, very, very weak, actually, because religious leaders, they can join meetings organized by the UN, but they do not act accordingly. They don't go on TV and implement what they don't talk openly to people. That's one problem. So they got some bucket results, but you know.
Okay,
I think in Mali there are some laws, but the applicability is
implementing the law.
Implementing the law, and too much facts and issue exist, but they cannot.
It's challenging. It's challenging. Okay, Khadi and Khalil, thank you both for joining us. And that was Khalil Gueye, he's a VOA contributor, and Kadiatou Traore, she's VOA reporter with the Bambara service. And that's our health report for today. To stay in touch for more, find me on Twitter @Linord Moudou.